Mel, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. We believe in cycles. This is a monthly chart of Bitcoin to perfectly illustrate this. You believe in cycles if you believe in the greed like to buy at the bottom and like to sell to you at the top. You believe that they like to do it over and over again, make a bunch of money off of retail and take money off of the poor. You believe that global liquidity in general tends to go up, and you believe that US and China both print money and the money has to go somewhere, including mostly to Bitcoin, then this video may be for you. If you are a fundamentalist who believe in delayed narratives and believe in recessionary fears, and these recessionary fears generally help fuel a bull market, but you believe in these recessionary fears, then this video is probably not for you. This is, again, the monthly chart of Bitcoin. You can see that it's going through a very clear pattern, just going through cycles. And if you just simply believe that right now we're at a triple top because we're at resistance, it's probably going to go down from there, it doesn't really fit with the cycle narrative, does it? And just like if you believe that this whole trend line down here is going to end up ending the cycle right there, it's going to go down from there, then you don't really believe in the cycle narrative, do you? Just like over here, if you believe that we have a hard time breaking up and that this is going to be a double top over here, you don't really believe in cycles, do you? If you believe in cycles, and I'm going to show you some indicators over here. If you believe in cycles, generally it runs into exhaustion, followed by a cool down, followed by a renewal bull market. Right? Generally it runs into exhaustion, followed by a cool down, followed by a renewal bull market. Right? Generally runs in exhaustion, end up in cool down, and renewal bull market. Right? And when the bull market is being renewed, you can go on for a very, very long time. Right now, there are really no signs of exhaustion because we haven't really had any kind of parabolic bull run quite just yet. Doesn't mean that we're guaranteed for one. No, there's nothing in this market that's going to guarantee you anything. Right? This is just a possibility, although the possibility seems to be very uncanny. You can see where every single cycle, whenever the parabolic bull trend starts, it drags the lower Bollinger Band all the way down to the bottom, to the negatives, right? It has happened for multiple cycles, and right now it looks like it might end up doing the same thing again. We have yet to have the Bollinger Band for the monthly chart. The lower Bollinger Band had yet to go all the way down to the negatives. We really haven't had a chance to really truly expand the Bollinger Band. It looks like we're just kind of getting things started over here. We did end up having a couple candles that closed outside of the Bollinger Band, but we've had a significant cool down, enough for us to really think that there's a potential for the bull trend to just keep on going. The Bollinger Band is still expanding. It looks like all we really need to do is just to have a couple of really strong candles over here for the bull trend to keep going. Do I think we're going to 1 million? No. Do I think we're going to 500,000? No. I'll show you the some of the targets here, but there is a potential that this bull trend is starting to get more parabolic, and it could hit up some of these numbers that might be a little bit hard for people to fathom because we're just now starting to have the monthly Bollinger expansion. Look at what happened previously when it did, right? There's no guarantee that whatever happens on the left side of the chart is going to happen on the right side if you don't believe in cycles. And there's no guarantee it's going to have to happen the same way because every cycle is different. But if you believe in cycles, I think that it tends to rhyme to the point that we might be near some very interesting breakout once we bring it out of this resistant trend line over here. Just like once you broke out this resistant trend line over here, pretty nice run, right? Just like when we broke out from this high over here, pretty nice run afterwards, right? We might be getting close to the juncture. Now, talking about other cycle indicators, one very good cycle indicator is the Ichimoku cloud. Ichimoku cloud comes with a couple of lines here. It comes with a Tenkan line, which is the blue line, and it comes with a Kijun line, which is the red line. Blue is also known as conversion. Red is also known as baseline. Whenever the blue crosses above the red, you have yourself a little bit of a bullish cross, and when that happens, generally you have a pretty nice parabolic bull run that happens for, over here, maybe like about a year. Over here, when you had a bullish cross where the blue got back over the red, it happened for about a year and a half, right? And we just had that happen just about 5 months ago, right? Back in January of 2024, we have a monthly bullish cross over here, Right now, the blue is over the red. We might be starting a pretty nice bull trend over here, right? If you believe in cycles. Now, instead of looking at the Ichimoku cloud, another way to look at cycles and see how things are heated or not based on momentum indicators is to look at the RSI. If you look at the RSI over history, every cycle tends to get very, very much parabolic, and it tends to kind of hit the top of this RSI trend line over here for the most part, right? Not really having any significant exception. Right now, we're not really that overheated. Right now, we still have some room to kind of go up a little bit higher. So I think that maybe over the next year or so, it might hit the top of this trend line. It can even make a little bit of a double top to even for the price to go even a lot higher. But the overall thing is that right now, if you believe in cycles, RSI hasn't really been that overheated quite just yet, right? So there's a lot of parallels to kind of look into in terms of where we are in this particular cycles. As I was saying, every cycle, the rich and powerful and the wealthy, the greedy, tend to buy at the bottom and they tend to distribute at the top. And whenever it is that when things get really, really heated over here is when they're really, really starting to distribute, right? Over here, these are what the whales are doing. They buy, and then eventually when it gets to the point where it's closer to the top, they start to distribute, right? And you can see as this candle over here, which is the top, as soon as it flips over here, right at the top, from the 2017 cycle, you can see that the whale indicator all of a sudden had flipped right there, right? Same thing over here for the whale accumulation, for the black cat indicator, it really flipped from like, white over here to red right there, right? A very similar phenomenon has kind of happened. You can see like the cycle top over here is starting to see it's kind of flip over here, right? So these indicators actually give you a little bit of a warning sign. Whenever you start to see a little bit of like a flip from heavy red to a lighter red, it makes you wonder whether or not we're near the cycle top. It makes you, whenever it flips from like a heavy red to like a lighter red, it makes you wonder whether or not we're at a cycle top, right? We're not really anywhere near. I think if anything, things just kind of got heated up over here. I think we're probably equivalent to maybe like right around here when things are just starting to heat up. We're starting to have a lot more whales being in, and we're starting to have a lot less retail being in here on the monthly chart. Same thing here. We're starting to have a lot of whales coming in, even though the price kind of went sideways. The whales kept on coming up. So I feel that based on Bollinger Band, based on RSI, based on Ichimoku Cloud, with the bullish Tenkan Kijun Cross, and these different whale indicators over here, I think we might be around the mid innings of this bull trend, and I think the majority, the bulk of the nice bull run may not have even really started quite just yet, based on a lot of these indicators, right? Okay, great. So if you're saying that we're not really quite there yet, so what are some of the targets that you might be looking at, you might say, right? Now, some of the targets I might be looking at, one way to kind of illustrate and try to find that would be really to try to look and see what happened for a previous cycle, just to kind of give you an idea, right? So this is a very, very nice chart over here for a Gann square that I have looked at. What you're seeing here is for this cycle is really a way for to kind of give you a little bit of a narrative over here, right? From the very bottom over here in August of 2015, you can see that it basically just hit one arc right here, pushed through an arc, hit another arc, pushed through another arc, hit another arc, pushed through another arc, got rejected here initially, but pushed through, back test the arc, and then went all the way up to arc number 5, right? Pushed through arc number 5 when it hit this horizontal zone right up here, around 17,000, got rejected, went back down the arc, and then eventually found and bounced the arc, and then started the next cycle, right? This is what the narrative in terms of what you're seeing here from the cycle 2015 all the way through around 2017, 2018. Right now, we have a very, very similar morphology If you just kind of compare the two, again, this is a 2-week chart, so it's not monthly chart, gives you a little bit more candle. Right now, if you just kind of compare side to side by these two cycles over here, you see a very, very similar phenomenon where basically we're basically hitting an arc right here. Initially got rejected here for like a few months, like 3 months or so, right? We're finally able to push through that, went through this arc over here, back test that, went to the next arc over here, went sideways here for a couple of months, right? So far, very painful, yeah. We're getting ready potentially once we're able to break above this resistance, and there's another resistance right here, the horizontal zone, but it may not necessarily be strong resistance here because it really wasn't there in the last cycle. If it's able to break through this line over here, which is going to be around 80,000 or so, it could potentially hit the next arc. The next arc is going to be 130,000, somewhere around there. Top of the arc, 150,000, and then it could end up hitting this horizontal zone right there in about 180,000. And that could, these lines over here, these arcs over here, again 130, 150, 180,000, these could potentially be the stop at the top right there. Very possible, right? Now, can it potentially go up, push up even higher to the next arc over here? Kind of like how it did the last cycle, right? Could push up to the green arc right there. Possible that you're talking about 260, 270,000. Can it push up to 300,000? Could push up to this horizontal line up here at 400,000. I don't know, right? All I know is that you're seeing a very, very similar parallel between the GAN over here compared to the GAN over here. This cycle actually looked very, very similar to the cycle previous, not the previous cycle, but before that, from 2015 to 2017 or so. This looks like a very, very similar morphology compared to that one, which is part of the reason why I think the cycle is going to be a lot more like the cycle before last, rather than like the last cycle is looking at the GAN square. So that's kind of what I'm, speculating. All these are just speculations, right? But it's interesting to look at, nevertheless. You do a Fibonacci level from the previous all-time high over here to the cycle bottom. What you're going to see is price has been respecting these Fibonacci level very, very nicely, right? You can see that it has really been respecting the 0.5 over here. It's been really respecting the previous all-time high over here, right? It's just been kind of confluence between these Fibonacci levels as well as the GAN square and arc on its way up. So potentially, if you're thinking about potential upward targets, could hit, some of these higher targets up here around 130, 150, could hit 180, could hit some of the arcs up here around the higher Fibonacci levels in the 200s. I doubt it's going to go to 400, right? But can all these things potentially happen? These are all possibilities. When things get irrational, could potentially end up happening. Although I wouldn't necessarily count on the cycle being as powerful as the cycle over here, just simply because market cap is just getting a little bit too large for something crazy like that to happen. But you can't really count that out because we have to kind of take one level at a time. Right now we are at resistance. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Next thing you know, it could hit resistance and it could still go down, right? Like, again, I believe in cycles. I don't believe that we're at the top, but that's also a possibility. It can just get rejected and just keep going down the arc, and then that could be the end of the cycle, right? That's always a possibility. But because things are getting heated, because it's a nice bull trend, because I'm not seeing any signs of exhaustion based on Bollinger Band, based on RSI, based on the fact that we just had a ticking Kitchen cross here on the monthly, I really don't think that the cycle has ended, and most likely it could hit some of the targets up here, maybe at least some of the arcs up here, around 120, 130, 150, potentially up to this line right here around 180. That's kind of what I'm seeing over the next 12 to 18 months, maybe a little bit less. That's what I'm seeing. But it is important to remember that we are right at resistance, and it could potentially go down the arc a little bit further before going up. Although the market structure so far looks very, very bullish. You have these kind of nice hammer candles. If you look at it weekly, you can see how nice these hammer candles are. There's a lot of significant demand here at the zone. I'm just not sure whether or not it's going to end up getting rejected and keep going down the arc because of the appearance of these candles. But anything's possible. Right now we're being pushed against resistance over here. And we're really trying. I don't want to be too bullish at resistance because you can get rejected and then before going up, right? These are always possibilities. But again, just look at a previous cycle. Like that's kind of what it does, before it pushes up. Like it's just kind of what it does, right? We're pushing up against important resistance, but I have a good feeling about this. If you look at some of the Bitcoin proxies, a couple of them are pretty popular. I would like to pull up some of the other ones to kind of give you an idea in terms of price targets, in terms of what I'm thinking that they might do. One is MSTR. If I just zoom out here for a sec, I'm not going to measure it from the bottom of this current cycle. I'm going to measure from the bottom of the last cycle over here around March 2020. What you're going to see here, first of all, I'm going to get rid of the Gantt square first. I'm just going to show you the monthly chart. I'm going to show you some of the other indicators that I just showed you as I did for Bitcoin. For MicroStrategy, it's a little bit different. Bollinger Band has gone all the way down to the negatives. This has been fully expanded, and I think it's probably going to go up a lot higher because it's just kind of went down, right? And the 20-minute moving average is pointing up. And we also recently just had the bullish cross not long ago. This just happened really around December or so, right? Only been about less than half a year where this bullish cross has happened. Basically, price looked like it just went way too far, way too fast, back tested the Tenkan Nikkei over here as support. It looks like it's getting ready to go up higher. So says the Bollinger Band. It looks like we just kind of got way overextended away from the upper Bollinger Band. Had to go sideways to kind of cool down here a little bit, and we cool down enough. Price wants to go higher, it wants to push against the upper Bollinger Band, and wants to expand upper Bollinger Band even further for price to go up even higher, right? So a lot of these kind of things are telling me that I think price is ready to keep going up, potentially. If you look at some of the other indicators that I was looking at, let me see here. Yeah, if you look at the whales, you can see that there's increasing in whale accumulation, increasing going up, right? You can see the institutions also coming in, right? Last month was a little bit scary as you started to see a little bit of cool down institution. You started to see a little bit more retail, like, uh-oh, are we distributing? But this month the retail completely disappeared. Right now the bar is very, very bright red, telling you the institutions are in, right? Same thing with the whale accumulation, right? So you're seeing a lot of very positive signs over here. So I don't think this cycle is quite over yet. Now, if you look at the Gann and the Fibonacci levels, what you're going to see here is tells a very nice narrative. Over the last cycle, it was very parabolic. I'm going to pull out the 2-week chart here to show a little bit more candles, give you a little bit more detail in terms of what's happening here, and zoom in a little bit more. During the last cycle, broke about this horizontal level, broke about the arc, back tested it, went up, skipped this whole arc right here on the way up, and went ahead and touched the top of this arc right here. Got rejected, came back down this arc, kind of balanced between these two arcs over here, got rejected over here, or actually broke down, got rejected again on the back test, and just kind of went down to some of the lower levels down here. Eventually, you're able to find support, push back up about this arc over here, back tested it, and this is the start of this bull cycle, right? Some of the angles over here also serve as support, and this angle over here serves as very, very strong support here at the bottom. Went back up again, right? Went above this arc right here, went above this arc over here, back tested it, went up higher, got rejected this arc, eventually pushed through, and right now you're in space. Went back down, back tested the horizontal zone, got back about this angle, and you're ready to run. What are some of the next targets after that? Some of the next targets after that, we're going to revisit the Fibonacci level 15618 over here, which is going to be around $2,000. Once you pass through that, a couple arcs over here, around 2,000, 3,000, right? After that, you're really talking about going up to some of the higher levels up here. After that, you're really talking about potential parabolic move that can hit anywhere around like 8,000, 9,000. You do have some of the Fibonacci levels over here. You do have an angle over here that could potentially serve as resistance, right? But if you're able to break about this like 2,000 to 3,000 zone over here, you're really talking about some pretty high targets up above. Is it going to necessarily hit that? Maybe, right? Or it might end up finding some resistance here at the angle. It might end up finding some resistance over here with Fibonacci sequence on these extension levels over here. Or the cycle might end over here around 3,000, right? Or this could be a double top and you just keep going down. Although, again, if you believe in cycle, I don't think we're really exhausted yet. Based on the Ichimoku cloud, we just had the Tenkan cross not long ago. Based on the Bollinger Band, looks like we just recently had an expansion just a few months ago. And just based on the fact that I feel that we're still making higher lows and higher highs, and this is an objective way to look at it. So there's no reason to really believe that the cycle has completely been over. And also just based on the market structure of Bitcoin, that looks like it wants to keep going higher for now, that I just showed you. I think most likely for MicroStrategy is going to end up hitting some of the higher targets up here, maybe even overshoot it, backtest it, and that could have been the top. Or if it decides to go crazy, it can hit potentially even 5 digits. It's a possibility. Do I count it happening? No. Do I, if I was in MicroStrategy, would I take profit before it hits up some of the targets over here? Yes. Could I be a foolish person or cat to do that? Person to do that? Sure. But it's a possibility. It's also a possibility to stop right here and go down. Right? You have to see what the other indicators are showing. You have to see what the market is telling you, whether or not the trend's exhausting up here or not. Right? If it keeps on grinding up like that, then most likely the cycle is over. If you look at the RSI, it just looks like super tired, then the cycle is most likely over. But if it kind of slices it for butter, it might end up hitting some of the top targets over here. Just something to think about. Anyway, that's MicroStrategy. I'm going to go talk about Coinbase. Coinbase is a very, very similar stock compared to MicroStrategy. It's just not as high in terms of the breaking through previous levels. All-time highs here over here in the IPO time around April 2021. When things are very, very, very much hyped up, if you will, right? If you look at the Bollinger Band, go back to the monthly chart over here, doesn't look exhausted. Just got a couple candles closing about the upper Bollinger Band, cool down for the month of April. Right now, we're just kind of hitting the top of the Bollinger Band over here, right? Doesn't look exhausted at all. Lower Bollinger Band all the way down to the negatives. Looks like we might be ready for some pretty epic run up here. If it decides to run, it can keep on going, bam, 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 going up higher, riding up a Bollinger Band going up, and we could be at the parabolic phase of the bull market potentially. Right? If you look at the Ichimoku Cloud, same thing is telling you, oops, it was super itchy. If you look at Ichimoku Cloud, we're same thing. We just had a bullish cross back in February, and this just happened. Price just went way far, way above, and we basically simply just got a little bit closer to the Tengen over here, waiting for the Tengen to go up, right? Most likely it's going to end up going up. If price keeps going up, and also some of the candles over here is no longer being counted as time goes on, then most likely we're going to be able to go up a lot higher, right? But it looks like we might have just started the bull trend based on the Ichimoku Cloud bullish Tengen Kijun cross, right? If you look at some of the other indicators that I was showing you in terms of what the whales are doing, they are coming in. There's really not any significant sign for them to really leave or anything like that, right? And the retails are in, but looks like overall the trend of whales tend to be predominant. Now, if I pull up the 2-week chart, you're going to see a little bit more clear. Like retails have pretty much been gone. You have a lot of traders over here, which is what the yellow represents. But you also have a lot of institutions as well as kind of coming in around these levels. And you can also see the whale accumulation has just been continuing, despite the price kind of gone sideways over here. You don't really see a whole lot of green, which generally represents the retail population. You have a lot of whales that are waiting for price to go up a lot higher, is what I'm seeing over here based on looking at this chart. Now, question is, how high is it going to go? Could this be the top? It can always be the top. I would never tell you that things are just going to go parabolic up from here on out. I would never say that. We could be hitting top right here, you could get exhausted, break down the curve and go down further, right? Use your imagination. If you believe in cycle, you believe that Bitcoin is going higher, believe that China liquidity and US liquidity continues to go up, which is what we're currently seeing. Use your imagination, look at some of the upper levels above. What could it do? You just broke through this arc over here. Price, what happened over here at the beginning of this bull cycle? Broke about this arc, right? Back tested the arc, went above to the next arc, got rejected, back test the angle, push above the arc using this back test energy, right? Hit the next angle up here, got rejected, and now it's back testing this arc over here, right? Looks like it's finding some pretty good back testing over here. So where is the price going to go next? Once it's able to break above this area over here, it's probably going to go up to the arc over here, around 400, around 500, which is the horizontal zone right there, right? 400, 500 is probably next. Where is it going to go if it ends up breaking above all of this, right? And if you're talking about 400, 500, you're really talking about beating previous all-time high, right? Breaking above 400, 500, where is it going to go? Probably go up the arc up here. You're really talking about potentially 900 to 1,000, right? happens to be 2.618 Fibonacci levels up here too. Can end up hitting this angle up here around 1.618 and call it a cycle, potentially, right? Those are all potential targets if things decide to go parabolic up. I do think that the chance of hitting this arc over here, this arc over here is good. I do think that the chance of making it, beating its previous all-time high this cycle is good. 4,500 is a strong possibility. Do I think that it's going to hit four figures? I think that's also a possibility, but definitely not as strong as hitting some of the levels down here. So I think it's probably going to break down this curve and going down. Looking at behavior, looking at whale behavior, looking at Ichimoku Cloud, looking at the bull in Japan, looking at the fact that it's kind of broke above this arc and back testing it, doesn't seem likely, right? It seems like it wants to go higher. It seems like it wants to hit some of the arcs up here, and then we'll decide what to do. Probably not over once it hits these arc in line over here. Probably going to go up higher, but we'll decide what to do when we get there. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to my spiel, if you will. Have a good one. Bye.